Carl Jung, a Swiss psychologist, first described synchronicity as a coincidence that has personal meaning for the person who experiences that coincidence. Jung defined synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence in time, a psychic factor that is independent of space and time. This means that there is no cause in this world for an event that can be described as synchronicity. And this event only has meaning for one person in the entire world. I've had personal experience of some synchronicity, and I would like to tell you about two significant instances. The first relates to a magazine article that was published in a South African women's magazine in the 1980s. The article described the Palazzo Doria Pamphile in Rome in Italy. At the time, I had no intention at all to leave South Africa. I was married with a small child, and I was struggling financially from month to month. Even so, at the time when I read the article, I just knew in my bones that one day I would visit this palazzo. I then forgot about the moment. And eventually my life and career took me to the United Kingdom. I was able to travel in Europe, and Rome was on my list. I was wandering in the street one day when I came across the Palazzo Doria Pamphile. I was surprised that such an exalted place was open to the public, and my visit was most enjoyable. While I was walking around there, I recalled the magazine article, and that stopped me in my tracks. It was easily 10 years later, and there I was, just as I had known in that moment of clarity in a country on the other side of the world a decade earlier. There was no cause to the experience. I didn't know why I was going to be there, and I didn't consciously plan the visit. That was synchronicity. The second incident of synchronicity for me was when I was house hunting in England. I was very blessed in that I was able to purchase a property. Of course, this was a big decision, and I took my time. The properties in England are tiny compared to those in South Africa, and I need my space. At the time, I had an acquaintance who was quite persistent, to the point of being pushy. She was adamant that she knew about the perfect property for me. I couldn't have agreed less because she tended to rub me up the wrong way all the time. However, I decided to go and view the property just to get her off my back. When I walked into the flat, I could clearly see a choir of angels welcoming me and inviting me in. I didn't say a word to anyone about that at the time, and looked around the place. It needed redecorating, and the window blinds were in the worst possible taste. The kitchen was the worst. However, as far as I was concerned, all these things could be fixed. I decided to purchase the place, and I spent many happy years there, after making the changes that were required to make the place fit for angels to inhabit. The angels never left the place and are still there looking after my interests. For me, that experience was an example of synchronicity. This lady who didn't know me well felt the urge to drag me to a place that had no personal meaning for her. I had no intention to follow her advice. It all worked out perfectly. I once did a reading for a client where I told her that she would get a windfall that would allow her to pay her mortgage to the last penny within the foreseeable future. I couldn't tell her where from or exactly when she would get the money. A few months later, she contacted me to let me know her mother had passed away unexpectedly. When the estate was settled, the amount of money she had inherited was the exact same amount that she was still owing on her mortgage, to the penny. In situations like this, I always appreciate the fact that Spirit only provides the information that my client needs rather than full clarity. Imagine how she would have responded if I had told her at the time that her inheritance would cover her mortgage, while her mother was still healthy and active. Have you ever thought about the cause of déjà vu? Yes, we all experience déjà vu at some point in our lives. But that's also a very individual experience. A place that might have no meaning at all for me and you, or that we both know and have visited before. Maybe the trigger for a realization for another person who's never been to the place, but recognizes the place as being quite familiar. That is synchronicity.